Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind, the reunion. Let's watch.
Oh, I'm just going to go right into it. You had a lot of conversations in the pods, but in watching it back, did you ever realize how often you spoke about money?
I know, it seemed like I really couldn't shut up about it. We were encouraged to talk about all aspects of marriage, including finances, and I think I overcooked it a little bit.
Okay. It's always interesting to hear by the way, Marshall's facial expressions have been fantastic. Stacy sent me a meme of his various different facial expressions just from this reunion, and we have yet to hear from him yet, so maybe he's just there for his facial expressions. I don't know. But anyway, so it's so interesting to hear their explanation. Of course, they would know that they were going to be asked this, and they've had at least weeks, if not the whole year, to think about how they might respond. And there's so many other, maybe he'll say something more, but you would think out of the gate, the best case scenario, which of course is ridiculous, would be for him to say, yeah, I have insecurities, and when I get insecure, I start, I guess bragging to get people to like me, which is just awful, and watching it, I'm like, I could barely watch it. You would hope it would be something like that. But if he had that kind of self-awareness and that's humility, then he wouldn't have done it in the first place, maybe? I don't know. But what he's saying is he's essentially triangulating the production, saying, well, they asked us to talk about that. Okay, I'm guessing a lot of people talked about it, but you bragged about it, you inserted it, you repeated it, the tone of your voice when you brought it up, the kinds of things you brought up. And, finances isn't you bragging about how rich you are and how filthy wealthy you are. Finances is talking about how we're going to manage finances in the future as a couple, right? And maybe that would involve talking about how much money you earn. Maybe, I don't know, but that's not an explanation. So maybe he'll give more.
All aspects of marriage, including finances, and I think I overcooked it a little bit with the money talk. Yeah, I didn't realize until I was watching it back. When I was watching, I thought, geez, this Leo guy won't shut up about it. So I if I could do it over again, I wouldn't have led with that so much, because I wish that they could have gotten to know me more than just, what I do and the money I have, because that's...
People are laughing, I think, because he's bragging again as he's talking about bragging, right? I think they're at least that's what I'm laughing at. Yeah, well, of course, right? How much therapy has he been in the past year? Would he be focusing on this? Even if he had been, I'm guessing it would take a long time to shed that kind of defense that I think he might have. I don't know. But he is saying that he's cringing, and he's also, it's interesting. I watched a bit of his TikTok or shorts or whatever, his Instagram posts of him making fun of himself. But the way that he does it, he still manages to elevate himself. Like when he would be making fun of himself, like 3 rules or 3 lessons you learn or something, he calls himself Professor Leo. So he still manages. And in this moment, he is saying, geez, this Leo guy won't shut up about how wealthy he is. And it's like humble in a way, but it's not him saying, I was cringing at me. I'm cringing at Leo, right? I don't know. You can't go off of language and assume, but when you look at the constellation of things, I don't know, maybe he'll deliver something and I'll be like, thumbs up. Let's see what happens.
But you guys, in talking with Leo, what was your takeaway from every time he would come in, whether it was trying on his Rolex or just hearing his stories? You're laughing, Tim.
Yeah, I'll talk, man. Leo's a misunderstood guy. He really is. He's a high-level thinker, and he processes out loud. The problem is that can get you in trouble sometimes, especially in a medium like this. Leo has a good heart, man.
Tim is trying to broaden the perspective, which I'll appreciate. Yeah, I'm sure Leo has a lot to him. I'm sure there are likable aspects about him. I'll assume that. And Tim is trying to say that. And he's also saying that Leo is a thinker or something. I don't know what that means exactly, but yeah, I'm sure Leo has likable stuff. I have friends close to me who are just as annoying at times and have qualities, or at least in the past, like Leo. We all have unfortunate social qualities. After we leave a party or a dinner with people, friends, undoubtedly in the car, people would laugh or complain about all of us in various different ways. Otherwise, you're not putting yourself out there. It's going to happen. So I'm not saying that Leo is some oddity, but I will say that, and I've said this before, that what Leo represents is a manifestation of our culture of materialism and people thinking that because you have money, you're a better person, or people hoarding money, people pushing the people, quote unquote, below them further down, the rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer, how different lobbyists and special interest groups and super PACs and politicians and tax structures, and it's just getting worse. That's not Leo's fault. It's our culture's fault. But when it manifests in a human being and they buy into it and they seem to enjoy it and consider that whole system to be evidence of their worth and how they're better than other people, how it makes them separate from others, then I'm going to say something because I can't help myself. It's a sick, disgusting illness in our society, and it's just getting worse. That's particular to particular societies like the United States. There are others, but the United States has a particular version of it that is disgusting. It's just getting worse. Social media doesn't help. Reality TV doesn't help. And Leo is just a part of that. And we all are. I'm a part of it.
And high-minded, he knows his shit on a lot of levels. He's super creative, man. Some of the bars, y'all got a taste of it. But
yeah.
He could put this dude could out-rap. I ain't gonna say nothing crazy. I ain't gonna get in trouble.
don't get Kendrick on
Yeah, hey, look, we're in LA.
Okay, so Tim saying that he's got some good bars and that he can flow. Okay. Yeah, we didn't see that. Interesting.
But man, real talk, man. Leo, he's a good guy. I can attest to the fact that he took this seriously. I would often tell him, brother, I know that you're trying to process and take this so seriously, but eventually you have to make a decision. You were kind of sitting on the fence and you had to take the lick how you did. He's got a lot more to offer this world than art and commentary about money.
Man.
Even though he has.
Now, I'm guessing a lot of people don't like Tim. Oh, I need to send out that survey. I'm going to do that right now. I need to send out that survey end of the season because I'm curious about y'all's opinions about things. I'm going to ask you, I've been paring down the survey. I'm just going to ask a simple, do you like the person or dislike the person? Or are you meh with the person? And then any hot takes. And then at some later point, I will review the survey and, for members. But I'm guessing that a lot of people don't like Tim and therefore aren't necessarily going to respect his opinion. In fact, Tim's endorsement might make Leo look worse in some people's eyes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Real talk, man. I love you, brother.
I love you too, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Leo, you said you came here wanting a tennis doubles partner.
Yeah.
But tennis is literally a sport where love means nothing.
Oh, geez.
Ironically.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Deep thoughts.
Oh, now deep thoughts. Wise thoughts and deep
In tennis,
thoughts.
love means nothing. And unfortunately, you ended up alone. So, what?
Okay, yeah. I wonder if they have writers. They seem to be increasing the amount. It's interesting to see the format of the reunions every year. It was last year, right, when they, or maybe two seasons ago, when they would have the couples in the pods, and then Nick and Vanessa would be walking. I seem to remember, was it Tiffany and Brett were like making out in one of the pods or something, and they're like, it's almost time for the reunion. And with the addition of the past season folks, I'm wondering what the purpose. They haven't really gone to the other people yet much, other than AD, and AD didn't really say anything. and there's fewer past people this time, and they're all in one zone. And they all, there's one camera for their reaction. I guess maybe just bring Marshall just for his facial expression. Maybe just like a picture-in-picture of just Marshall's face the whole time going, oh, oh. I'd enjoy that one. But yeah, it's interesting. And also, I'm noticing that the audience is less Jerry Springer-y, actually. Maybe it was true last reunion. Yeah, I'm remembering now. I don't know if it was the first season, but, for me, I'm watching the show and it's very intimate, obviously, and there's no audience. And then they go on the reunion and there's a crowd of people. There was one season when they didn't have a crowd of people because it was still pandemic times, but I don't know if it happened the first season, but at some point it had the look that they actually hyped up the crowd, that someone went, if you've ever been part of a live studio audience, typically, especially if it's for comedy or energy or something, then there's someone that hypes up the crowd. They might even just do a routine, like a comedy routine, like an opening act or something. At the very least, there'll be someone that will just be like, okay, people, like, give me your scream or give me your ooh, if you see something, make sure you react. I want to see that. Okay. Give me your best aha or give me your best yay. And then, like a cheerleader. That's the purpose of that sort of thing. Audiences were super, like, dorky and cringy. Ew. And he. It's just, it's fine if they have a normal reaction, if it's just spontaneous and within the normal limits of human behavior in a crowd. But when it seemed manufactured, I was like, this isn't Jerry Springer. Like, come on, this demeans all of us, including y'all. But I haven't at least noticed it in this reunion. It might be happening, but I feel like I would have reacted to it if it was happening. So kudos to the production. Maybe they've learned from their mistakes. And it seems maybe they've also learned from their mistakes about having too many rando past people. I think I said this before. I'm guessing that they have Bliss and Zach because they're a success story and they have a kid. So it makes it seem more real, which I think the show is entitled to highlight. And it also, I think, reminds us that this is real, at least for a good percentage of these folks. This is not a joke. This isn't like, I don't know about The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, but I've heard that, in the last 10 years or so, the seasons are understood by everyone to not be real. Like in the beginning, it was literally a bachelor trying to find his life partner. And later on, it was clear, and I don't know if this is true, but that's what I've heard, is that it's more of like a game show and maybe they'll fall in love. But, if they don't stay together after the show, it's like, well, that happens sometimes. I don't know if I'm wrong about that, but I think it makes it way more entertaining when it is actually happening before our eyes. And so anyway, and I had my very first response to the survey that I sent out, and now there's 2 responses. And I'll just give an update on that. So we have, Garrett, 2 dislikes, Taylor, 2 likes, Tyler, dislike, Ashley, 2 dislikes. That's interesting. Bowden, mixed, like, dislike. That's interesting. Does Bowden show up at this? Marissa, like, dislike. Ramses, 2 dislikes. Leo, like and dislike. Brittany, like, dislike. Nick, dislike. Hannah, dislike. Stephen, dislike. Monica, 2 dislikes. Tim, dislike. Alex, like and dislike. And Katie, 2 likes. It's kind of hard to vote on Katie. But yeah, so maybe I'll give updates. Well, I'm going to save this, actually. I'm actually going to turn this off so that I don't actually know the results of the survey, so that I later can be surprised by it and make a video of it. Let's watch.
Maybe put it out there with the tennis.
Nick was certainly don't mix words.
What was it like for you, and I use your words here, what was it like for you having to decide between 2 amazing women?
Gosh, I mean, you can see how torn up I was with the decision. And maybe this is a bit of a goofy analogy, but, when you're at a restaurant.
So we'll see what he does. Let's see if this elevates him somehow and signals his class. Let's see. Yeah, now, if you are legit in the upper classes, then your analogies might reflect that. But let's see what he does here. I'm trying to think of what an analogy would be, or a metaphor would be, that would be obviously in the other direction. Like when you're in a restaurant, that's what he said, and you're the dishwasher, and you're trying to choose between the good dishwasher and the bad dishwasher, but you don't know which. Anyway, I'm just.
You're between, should I have the pasta or the steak? And the waiter comes to the table and he's like, is everybody ready to order? And everyone says yes. And he goes around the table and you're like, let me order last. And you're trying to take every little bit of time. And I was like fighting for every.
Okay, so yeah, if you're in a private conversation and you have this analogy and it fits, and of course, deep down, you don't think of it as having all the elements of this metaphor, meaning that you don't literally think that you're just choosing a life partner from a menu, and you don't think about Hannah and Brittany, the human beings, as the pasta and the steak. And which one is which, I suppose? That's an interesting question. I mean, I guess Hannah would be the pasta, right? I don't know why that would be. Just, steak is more fancy, I guess. But also, she is more, depends on the kind of pasta. Anyway. It's kind of interesting because the class signaling from Hannah was quite different. Anyway, the point is that if you're in a private conversation and you're making this analogy and your friend knows that you aren't some kind of objectifying bastard, then okay, fine. But when you're on stage, and again, I'm guessing that he had thought about what he might say, because this sounds like he had planned for it, or that he had already talked along these lines with people. So he is saying, and it does make me wonder, I should ask my contact if the cast is told what questions they might be asked. It would make sense to do that, not only just as a courtesy, but also to help them not stammer and go, oh, I don't know, because they're on stage and people will do that. Anyway, so yeah, but if you're on stage and you are being asked about what it was like and you provide this sort of metaphor, it's not necessarily classist. I mean, I guess you could say more, it is kind of classist in that it elevates him, but it is objectifying. I'm trying to think if you could have a metaphor that maybe career, maybe that would be less objectifying if you're thinking, it's sort of like when you have two careers or two jobs, like you have two dream jobs, one on one direction and another one another direction, and the rest of your life, and you don't know what you're going to do. And okay, maybe. But the other thing is, there's so many other ways you could answer this. You could just be like, yeah, it was really hard. I had legit feelings. I had a connection with each one. This might actually kind of reveal that the hypothesis or the accusation or the question is, why did he react the way that he did to Hannah? And why did he wait so long? And why did he seemingly want, as Tim was saying, you waited too long? And the question is, and I've said this from the beginning, that a lot of people will do that. And when we like someone that is trying to decide between two people, then we're like, well, it's hard to know when you're in the pods. You had a connection with two people. It's hard to know. But when we don't like them, then we're like, oh, they're manipulative and that sort of thing. And I don't think that makes a lot of sense. But it's possible that he was actually soaking it up, that he was reveling in that power. Not that he's some kind of evil genius or villain or something, but that he liked being in that position, and to give up one of the people would mean that he would be giving up one person's admiration of him or one person's love of him. You know what I mean? And to be in that position of just like, ooh, I'm the belle of the ball. Who am I going to choose to dance? And this is kind of nice. And some people don't like that, right? Or some people don't care. Or I don't know. He might have liked it. So when he is thinking about what it was like, He's not necessarily going to talk like what we might hope someone might talk in a situation like that. Like, I had a connection. It was hard. I didn't know. It was the pods. We only have so much time. I didn't want to hurt either one. I knew I was hurting them as I was waiting. Brittany, and particularly Brittany, I felt really bad about. That would be a human response that showed empathy and lack of defensiveness, defensive grandiosity. But maybe he will. Maybe he'll get there. But this is interesting. It might say something. It's a data point. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.